Hi everyone, Jess here, and today I'm joined with Peter Smith from Cover Genius. Thanks for joining me today, Peter.
Oh, you're very welcome. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. So firstly, I think there's a consensus that the loyalty landscape is changing, and one of the things we're seeing more is these slightly disillusioned customers. Where do you think loyalty programs are headed, and how would you characterize the space as it currently stands?
Well, if you look at it from a consumer point of view, consumers, customers these days are much more sophisticated than I think they've ever been. And the pace of change in terms of the way in which people make purchases, the buying processes, and the things that are really important to them, particularly when you look at Gen Z and millennials and the way in which they interact with brands they purchase from, it's very different to what it was 10 years ago. However, I feel like within the airline industry, airlines still haven't necessarily caught up with that trend. And so there are huge opportunities within this space to really utilize the massive wealth of data and information that particularly travel companies hold about their customers and utilize that in a very clever way using AI and analytics to really better anticipate customer needs and reward them in a way that's much more personal to them as an individual. So instead of set and forget reward programs that perhaps are miles based or price based, think more about what matters to your customer base and what's going to keep them loyal to you as an airline.
Absolutely, and I guess it's about sort of staying in their thoughts regularly, and not just when you fly, but building these sort of everyday partnerships where possible.
Yeah, completely. It's about lifetime value, and enabling customers to customize their rewards programs themselves. So you're not dictating to them exactly what it is that they're able to achieve as a reward. Perhaps giving them a little bit more flexibility. For example, with Gen Z, we know that 75% of Gen Z are much more likely to make a purchase if they're able to customize that purchase or that journey. And so if you take that sort of level of think and you apply that to your loyalty programs, they're much more likely to engage.
That's a huge statistic and really interesting. It really highlights that matter and the importance of it. And then you've touched on it a small bit already, but many industries have already adapted to this digital first customer and have been, I think it's fair to say, slightly more agile than the airline industry has. Why is aviation struggling to make this shift in the same way as other industries? And what areas are we seeing the most desperate need for change?
That's an excellent question. Parts of the airline industry and the travel industry as a whole really have adapted and continue to, particularly online travel agents and low-cost carriers seem to lead the way when it comes to loyalty. So, for example, with Cover Genius, we're working with people like Agoda and Flight Centre within the OTA space, and Vueling and Ryanair and Spirit in the LCC space, where these guys have really adopted personalisation as part of their strategy, and that's following through into some of the benefits programs that these guys run. I think perhaps the area you're referring more to is within the legacy airline space. Traditional carriers really have some catching up to do. And part of your question there was why. I strongly believe it's due to technical constraints. Legacy, I call it spaghetti code. It's all tied up in the background, and being able to really unpick that takes time and resource and energy. And legacy carriers have much more they have to deal with, safety being their number one concern. So being able to find the time to really invest in technology, in AI, in data and analytics, that's what's really going to drive them forward. And I think there's one other thing that they struggle with, and that is that they have huge concerns around the risk associated with data and the use of data and some of the regulation that comes along with that. And I think quite often they feel that risk is just too dodgy to really step into that area.
Absolutely. So perhaps the safety and cyber safety as well, really not holding back, but slowing the pace of change in that area.
Completely. Although there are airlines such as Turkish Airlines, for example, and SAS, Scandinavian Airlines, who have adopted personalisation in the way they present protection products or ancillaries to their customers. And they're seeing immense results from this. We hear from some of our airlines that actually those customers that take out ancillaries, for example, which can contribute to loyalty programs, have a higher net promoter score. Anecdotally, they put that down to the fact that they're enriching the customer's trip by enabling them to choose products that are right for them as an individual. And by doing so, they're seeing greater loyalty into the future.
That's really interesting. And of course, we hear a lot about personalisation and how much, and like you say, customisation. So you can see how those feed into each other really, really perfectly. And now thinking ahead for the rest of the year and maybe even longer into the future, what are 2 or 3 of the main trends that you think are really going to be dominating the scene?
Well, one word that's come out frequently here is personalisation. You hear it all around this particular event. Airlines talking about better personalising the customer experience. I think we're going to see a much greater adoption of that throughout 2025 and beyond, and trying to overcome some of those tech hurdles that really have put a blocker on them to date. The second part of that, but linked to it, is digitalisation and really utilising AI to better anticipate customers' needs in real time. That's becoming huge. You can't turn anywhere these days without hearing about AI. So it's how airlines really tackle this and adopt it within their organisation to improve the customer experience. And then I'd say the third one, I experienced this myself travelling out here, had a 13-hour delay in Abu Dhabi, which was completely unexpected. But I think we're going to see ongoing disruptions throughout this year, partly because, unfortunately, there's still a legacy that lives on from COVID when it comes to staffing levels within airlines. So on the one hand, you've got EasyJet and British Airways having a sort of recruitment war, who's going to pay their pilots more? And then on the other hand, you've got KLM towards the end of 2024 announcing significant layoffs. So these sort of challenges still exist within the industry, and I don't see them being solved anytime this year.
Fantastic. So personalisation, digitalisation and disruption. Great. Well, I've lots to look out for in the coming year, and thank you for sharing your thoughts today, Peter.
You're very welcome. Nice to see you.